be able to turn on his camera, but it's nice to meet everybody, or it's nice to have everybody on, excuse me. So we're going to go through the webinar here today of AgentForce and the sales development agent. So let's go ahead and get started. In terms of today's agenda, we're going to cover who we are, SM Innovations, and then we're going to also go over the first demo. This is something we're really excited to show you guys a bit about the sales development rep AI agent. And so, as many of you know, folks at Salesforce and other accounts, what this is going to do is unlock the accounts or leads that no one is touching. So it will intelligently go out and schedule meetings. So that's what we're going to show for the first demo. If we get some time, we're going to go over another AI tool within Salesforce, which we've developed for a number of clients, which is custom lead scoring, product recommendations, and scheduling agent. This is also really great for sellers to save a tremendous amount of time. And we'll get into that as well. If we have time, we'll also get into when to use AI versus automation, as we've seen quite a bit of confusion over the last few months since AgentForce was released in terms of when should we use AI, when should we use automation, and we'll be able to answer those questions as well. And we'll probably have some follow-up webinars specifically on that topic. All right. So a little bit about us. My name's Nima Mohajri. I'm Chief Revenue Officer at SM Innovations, and we're longtime Salesforce partners. Jim is not here. Albert is our Salesforce practice lead. He is here having a little bit of technical difficulties with the camera. Suhail is also a solution architect here. So about us, most of us are based in Southern California, but we're a US-based Salesforce consulting partner. We do all the clouds except for a few, commerce, etc., but pretty much everything else. We do still maintain a 5 out of 5 customer satisfaction record, and we've been working very, very hard on AgentForce use cases in addition to all the other clouds that we cover. But AgentForce is something we're really making a big push for in 2025. We cover all the clouds you see here. We're really big on integrations. And as you can see, this is a little financial services focus, but we do a few other sectors as well. But financial services is a big focus of ours, TTH and RCG as well. Okay, so main question for everybody here today. You may have thought about this, but what if your sales team could qualify 100 times more leads without hiring anybody? So to put this into perspective, it's kind of like, you've got a sales team. Actually posted this on social media the other day. Imagine you have 50 sales reps, right? We encounter this a lot with our customers, and you've got 50 sales reps, and let's just say 100,000 leads that no one's touching. Well, you can only go as fast as your sellers can talk to those leads. So let me see here. Excuse me. Yeah, and so that's what this agent is trained to do. It'll be trained on your knowledge articles and go out and qualify those leads for you. So we're offering a free AgentForce implementation assessment in Q1 of 2025. And how to get started is to reach out to us at contact@SM Innovations, or you can get in touch with Albert and myself. All right, so as far as this agent we're about to show you now, let's get into a little bit about what this sales development representative agent will do. So one of the key things to think about here is that it's grounded in your data and notes. So everybody's using ChatGPT. You guys all know what AI is now, but for business, in business context, you can't afford to make mistakes in terms of hallucinations. And so since it's grounded in your customer data, trained on your business processes, and what that means is it will actually, look into the customer record historically and make the decisions, as we'll see in the conversations we're about to have with the leads. It will actually qualify them and bring up conversations from the past or information from the past, of course, within the right boundaries. And it will also follow the business processes. And the example we're going to use is actually a mortgage company, you'll see. And some of the questions are around us. We've trained it based on what this mortgage company is actually, what the rates are, what are FHA rates and all that stuff. We've trained this model to respond accordingly. And by the way, if anyone has any questions at any time, feel free to just raise your hand here. and then we'll get to them as well. So omni-channel communication, we've configured email. So everything I've been talking about is email, and we've also partnered with a company called SMS or 360 SMS, and we have now integrated email into this whole entire thing. And so there's also phone calls, and that's something that's a little in the works, but it's here as well. But we don't have that for this particular demo. But we do have the ability to add that. And so this means that you get to intelligently qualify your leads. So you got your 50, fictitious your 50 sales reps and the other 100,000 leads. You have an agent qualifying them in the background, setting meetings on the agents on your AE's calendars or your sales reps calendars. Another important thing is when that calendar meeting does hit their inbox, they get a whole summarization of like what happened. What was that conversation with that agent? Or if they're a new sales rep, they weren't here the entire, 10 years ago that you engage with that customer, you get a whole summarization that lands in their inbox so they know what they're saying. Another very valuable thing that Salesforce provides is the ability to create custom flows. So for example, you may want to send out a couple emails and then send out a text, and as we'll show in the example, you'll have a happy path, which is like schedule a meeting, put it on the sales rep's calendar. You'll have an unhappy path, right? Disqualify the lead. You'll have somewhere in the middle where they're asking questions. And so how do you handle all of that logic? And so we've addressed that here, but that's something we can help you customize as well. And there's a whole bunch of different flows you can invoke, goes down a whole rabbit hole. And of course, automated scheduling. So AgentForce will check on the calendar of the customer or the sales rep to see, when, or actually, we prefer to use Salesforce's inbox tool because it syncs really nicely with everything else and will show the available times. So all this is in-house. When they send a calendar, it'll go right onto the Salesforce inbox calendar. I'll give it over to Albert now. Albert, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, oops. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Okay, cool. So do we want to walk through some of our examples, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. All right, guys. So you can see my screen. I'm going to pull up an example lead. I named it Jimmy Ellis. And essentially it's a lead page just like you see every day. And what happens is when you want AgentForce to start working on a lead, we do have some settings like filter criteria. And that means, if a lead source is this, if the status is this, you can define whatever you want. So as an example, we will show you in the activity that once it got started, it actually ended up scheduling an email, right? And you can actually see that it opened the email, or that the customer opened the email, right?
Yeah, let me interject here real quick, and I apologize, Albert. I want to give some context on what we trained this model to do. So I feel like I did touch on that earlier, but this is, as mentioned, this is a fictitious mortgage company. Now we can train this for any type of sales environment, what it could be any industry. But in this example, we trained it on, and we gave all the model data to answer questions about this company, and we gave it about, I think, 8 different interest rates for different types of loans, for different credit scores, FHA, VA, et cetera. And then we had to go out based on all that information and qualify all the untouched leads. So that's the context here
Yep.
that Albert is describing.
Yep. And so essentially it generates it from within what we trained it to do. So emails go out, customer or potential customer responds, and then AgentForce can monitor that and respond in an appropriate way. End goal being that they schedule a meeting with the sales rep, right? So here we have a whole email thread, right? And then above, once that interaction advances, you could see that there's SMS, which we're using 360 SMS for that. And essentially we're making this intelligent where it's communicating via multiple channels, right? Email, phone, text message, stuff like that. So that's essentially it. On the right over here, we can also see that there's a conversation, right? So this conversation is easy to track. That's more on the product side of the SMS piece of it, but you, as an example, you can see how this would work, right? It also will create tasks for you, so you can see the tasks that Agentforce can actually associate with your lead. So that's another really cool part.
Yeah, so about the texting, can we go into the conversation really quick to see like obviously this is a fictitious lead and it's not an actual conversation, but I think it'd be helpful to see kind of like what happened there. Can you pull that screen up again?
Yep.
Okay, so as we can see here, without any effort from like the sales manager even, right? Unless they're kicking off the whole entire project for all 100,000 fictitious leads. This went out and sent a text message and it said at the bottom, great, I'll send you over, no, sorry, at the top. Hi, Jimmy, this is SDR agent from ABC Mortgage. Want to reach out to you about your refinance needs. Let me know if you have time to talk this week. And then the person responded, thanks for reaching out. We're out of town this week and for a call, but find out more about your options. So that is obviously a happy path. And so the response by the AI tool was, or by Agentforce, of course, was great. I'll send you over my availability for next week. Looking forward to our call. So that's the happy path that the agent sent out, right, Albert?
Yeah, correct. And then you could see if I was the customer, I'm responding and I can see the same exact conversation, obviously.
Great,
Cool.
cool. Um, How about and then do you want to talk a little bit about what's the difference between, so what happens if the customer responds that they don't want, walk us through a little bit about what happens there. I think we
Yeah,
have a couple
if
examples of
not
that.
interested, it goes back to how we train Agentforce or that SDR agent.
Yeah.
And essentially, typically when we look out for keywords like stop or not interested, what happens with Agentforce, it can detect, if someone's unsatisfied or just really not interested based on their language. And so
Mm-hmm.
so it can update that lead.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for example, status equals not interested, right? Or do not call. So that's obviously the unhappy path,
Mm-hmm.
but it also helps with not really bugging people that don't want to be reached out to, right? So that's another really great feature because it detects it. You don't necessarily have to program each keyword, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a part of the training that we give Agentforce.
Okay. Um, can you walk me through how is this process initiated from the user's perspective? Like, what does the sales manager have to do to kick off, okay, let's go after this particular bucket of leads in this particular area because, let's just say we want to get some FHA loan, whatever, VA loans or something like that. Like, what do they need to do? So they can go into a campaign and do they have to create anything?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple ways to do it, and typically when we work with clients, we'll kind of identify the strategy. But just at a very, very basic level, we do have settings. So we have a thing called an entry criteria.
Mm-hmm.
And within those settings, you can set, like I said earlier, if you have a lead status, if you have some sort of category of that customer on these leads, things that are common for
Mm-hmm.
what you're trying to target, right? And you can set the maximum attempts. You can set the business hours. So obviously, we're not going to be emailing and texting people, at 9 p.m. at night. So essentially, yeah, there's settings that we can configure, and those are pretty easy to manage. So just to let you know, it's not, the hardest thing in the world to do. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay. What about like handling multiple conversations? Because can this, obviously one of the main limitations of human versus AI is that, AI can go and have multiple conversations at once, right? We're saying 100,000 conversations at once. I would imagine that there's some limitations based on email configurations and SMS and how much your provider allows you to send out. But is the AI limit, is Agentforce limited by the conversations, or how does that work?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know from a architectural standpoint, I don't know what that limit is, but as far as I understand on the technical side, there isn't a limit that I've seen.
Okay.
Um, but I wouldn't say that once you turn it on, it reaches out to 100,000 people like at that very second. It probably does segment some of it, but you would have to ask Salesforce engineering for the technical aspect of how far you can push it.
Okay. Um, What about a little bit of the like objection handling? Like, does it go into depth into that? I think we have a couple more leads here that we can show, right? Do we have anything where we can show a little bit of a conversation, maybe on email? I think, yeah, maybe you want to
Um,
try that one.
Let me
So
just
I know it's in the middle of testing, but so these are all agent conversations, right? So once again, trained on knowledge articles that we have uploaded based on this fictitious mortgage company's information, business processes, offers. And so it looks like this is a conversation here. At the bottom, I see, we low mortgages are excited to connect with you. I'm the digital agent. We believe our solutions can bring value to your company, yada yada. So, and it looks like the response was, "Thanks for reaching out. I want to learn more." So this is a happy path email as well, and they want to learn more information about this, right? And then it looks like Agent Force has responded at the top there. I know it's a little hard to see this, Albert, but I think there you go. So it responded properly and it said, "Hi, William. For queries regarding the interest rates and types of loans, I encourage you to connect with our sales rep at Albert." Of course, you could change all these names and train it on that. We're using the same names. But again, this is just the agent going out and talking to the lead and the lead responding, and then the agent setting a meeting. So no involvement. Can you scroll down a little bit on that email, actually?
sure.
Um, on that particular one? Yeah. I just want to, okay, so there you go. It says book a meeting. So that's Salesforce inbox for those of you familiar with that icon there. And so the lead can go ahead and book a meeting. So we've shown email and we've shown text as well, and the agent is handling that pretty well. Uh,
Yeah, and let me speak to the objection handling. You did
yep.
ask about that.
Yep.
So one of the really cool features that you can train Agent Force on is we all know that we're as salespeople, you're going to get somewhat rejection from people for all kinds of different reasons. And so training this whole model that, there might be a certain amount of no's or I'm not interested right now, things of that nature.
Mhm.
Um, as part of the training, we can give it some perspective on what to respond with. For example, mortgage rates are gonna, go up next year or they're going down right now. Things of that nature. That could be an example where it could still engage, and even though that person might kind of have a little bit of interest, it'll push, right, based on the training. So that's a little bit how we can do it. But yeah, that's something that Agent Force can do.
Okay. Um, and then let's talk a little bit about data sources for the personalization. So I know data cloud is um, necessary for Agentforce to work, and obviously that's one big aspect or big kind of yeah, aspect of Agentforce and a big offering that Salesforce has, and that's really important because you can bring in third-party data and really get and bring that in as a Salesforce object and have even more insights into the customer. And of course, you can also through the zero data copy model bring in Snowflake or information from Snowflake or Databricks, so to have an even further, more granular view of the customer. Um, I'm not sure if you want to add anything else about data cloud's involvement or Einstein, et cetera.
Yeah, essentially, the way that I understand it, the way it's been explained, going to Dreamforce last year was great to kind of learn about that aspect of it. Is that Data Cloud, when it comes to a lot of this insight and intelligence, Data Cloud is a huge part of it. So you could add third-party or external data sources, if you have, other type of platforms that hold data, but essentially also just the data that's in your Salesforce, right? And then this example, we are just referencing internal data to Salesforce. But yeah, it definitely is a scalable solution, and the way that Salesforce built it makes 100% sense. When trying to grow your database and keep it as scalable as possible.
Okay, great. That's it for the questions that I have on this particular SDR agent. The chat is open if anyone else wants to ask questions on this. If not, I can show the lead scoring agent. I've just opened it up. I realized it was closed off previously to participants. So I'll wait a few seconds to see if there are questions on this. If not, we'll jump over to the lead scoring AI agent. Going once, going twice. Okay, so Nick, Nick asked how intensive is the training setup? So great question. That kind of depends on it. It's what you probably imagine it is. You got to give the information to the agent and train it and test it. So I would advise from what we've seen and jump in here and let me know, Albert, if you disagree or you see it another way. But I would start smaller with some smaller use cases and build out from there. So we're here to help out in terms of that, in terms of training it and testing things out. Like let's just say you want to roll out a particular product offering. That's like a common use case. Obviously mortgage rates just dropped right now or a few months ago, and so people are sort of scrambling to like get that out there. That's also impacting a lot of businesses in different ways. So maybe you want to get something like that out. By the way, I should mention, and we didn't go into this, you don't necessarily, we can train this agent to have different goals. So this particular agent's goal is to try to get meetings, by the way. So let's just, whatever you want this agent to do effectively in terms of like a goal that it will have with the customers, we can also train it to do that too. So it's a little, there's not a clear answer for you, Nick, but if you reach out, we'll chat with you in terms of the use case and help you out there.
Let me can I just mention a couple
Yeah,
points
that,
about the training? All right, so essentially with AI, Chat GPT, anything like that, right? So you have your prompts that you can train it on. What that means in layman's terms is you explain to say this model what it needs to do, right? So from beginning to end, its goals, what it shouldn't do, how it should present information. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but there actually is a standard way to write the explanation. And going back to what Nima said about us just trying to help with that, there's a whole format that we can show people on how to build theirs, right? So we can provide you, a basic template, and it can get more complex as your requirements could be more complex, right? So I wouldn't say it's the hardest thing in the world, but definitely, you got to really think through it. And that's kind of what we're doing right now with clients is we're just trying to work with them and make it as easy as possible. But, with any product or any new experience on a technical side, it's a learning curve, but I wouldn't say it's too crazy. So.
We have two more questions. So one is from Jim. So Jim wanted to know if we can like here ask it a question live and have it respond. So I don't know if you can do that with the SMS part, Albert. If you want to try that, I don't know if you can share your screen and do that. I forget how that works, or if you have to actually show your phone. I know you can do that, so the answer is yes. But in the meantime, if you want to try to get that going, Albert, I'm gonna answer Ryan's question. Um, so Ryan, yes, Jim, I believe we do have that functionality so that we can do it. I just don't know how we can share it on the screen. Um,
It might actually be a bit of a challenge because
sure.
I don't think we set up our environment completely for that.
You Okay. Well, we do have the ability. I don't know if we could show it on the screen, but okay. So Ryan's question, the difference between what is the main difference between doing this and setting up an automated workflow? Seems like both have similar setup required. Ryan, you hit the nail on the head. That was the question we were being asked for the last few months in a row. You're already paying for licenses in Salesforce. You have flows already. Why would you go and get an agent? Well, there's a answer to this, and we actually wrote a white paper on this particular thing. We could send that over to you as well and have a separate discussion because there are use cases. I'll try to answer this, but Albert, if you can, add to anything if I miss. But
Yep.
it will intelligently look through all of the information within the historical record and then respond. So yeah, well, Ryan, we'll send over that white paper that we wrote as well. So think about it this way. Um, what a flow is really good at is triggering a bunch of processes. But what an agent or AI can do is it can look at an entire corpus of information, all of the data within your company at one time, and make a decision and respond instantaneously. That is not something a flow can do. So all within a second, and it looks like it's actually, and it is actually generating. So it's generative AI versus what Einstein used to be, which would have been more predictive. This is generating the response. And so in this example, and this is a brand new agent which hasn't been trained too much yet, but we do have other examples. Hopefully, I'm answering your question here, though, Ryan. But it's looking at all the information behind the scenes of what your business processes do, all of your lead information, and then generating the response to say, and again, doing that at scale instantly, right? So we've set this to work on a timer, so we don't bombard people with texts and emails. But it does have the answer chambered and ready to go. And again, it's intelligently responding. So, okay, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. So I want to jump in on that one.
Yep.
So yeah, as a part of that white paper that we were working on together, really kind of identifying the difference between, say, AI and its function for just anything really. Um, that is really set up to be, this intelligent, I'd call it an intelligent being or process, right? That can learn, that can look at data, that can make suggestions, right? But if we compare it to automation, right? Apex versus flows, things like that. Um, it's really just like predefined rules. It'll be like repetitive, rule-based tasks, things like that. Yes, it can detect changes in your Salesforce. That's what triggers things inside of Salesforce. But really the part of the white paper was to, number one, show that we want to identify that AgentForce does a certain job. And yes, in some ways it's similar, but if you're saying, like, if someone was trying to say, oh, well, AgentForce can do all this automation, uh, technically it can, but not to the point of writing code or setting up some flows. AgentForce makes it very easy to work with both of those. But the end goal, and how it works, at its best is to combine, prompts, to combine flows that you add that really identify complexity within your company. So say if you had an integration, right, you might actually have to launch a flow to get a certain amount of data, right? And then AgentForce can actually read it, come up with suggestions, and monitor on a real time basis. So really, the coding and the automation and stuff like that, that's definitely needed to be successful. So, one does a very human-like intelligence job, but the automation will actually execute, very predefined type rules and tasks in the background. So they work hand in hand. So in some cases, you can use a prompt, right? In some other cases, yeah, it would make sense to write a flow because you don't really need to learn from that, right? You know what's going on. But in the new world, the new age of CRM, you want to be able to really build something that learns, but also to build something that is more on the automation side, and you don't have to have Agent Force trying to do anything too complex. You kind of keep them in their own buckets. So
Nick mentioned something, pricing model based on conversations. I understand pricing may vary depending on the org instance, but what kind of costs on a conversation basis does this pencil out to? So I do know that the preliminary pricing has come out to $2 a conversation per 24-hour period. I'm not sure if they revised that yet, but I believe that's what the current one is. You can reach out to me and I'll get more information on that as well. So that's roughly where the pricing is at right now. Great question so far. Let's see, give it a minute for any other ones. Albert, do you want to mention anything else about this SDR agent? So I think we covered all the bases here. I don't think we covered phone calls on this, but that's another one. And again, those will all show up in the history. One more thing, can you scroll up on this so we can show that in this activity record, it shows both email and text. So I just want to be clear on that. So both of these are happening to the same lead record. Actually, one more question came up here. A conversation is defined as all the back and forth. Is that yes? It is one conversation. Correct. So you're not going to get charged for back and forth, Nick. It's within a day. So, okay. Okay.
All right, cool. Yeah. So just going back, I was sneezing, guys. Sorry about that. But essentially, if you have Agent Force, send out a text message, whether it's inbound or outbound, whether it's an email, whether you get a response, whether we sent out or Agent Force sent out a meeting request with those options and they clicked on it, having that show in activities. Activities isn't the only thing that you'll see. Having summaries of these conversations via email, Agent Force can do that as well. We haven't set that up. There's just so much that we've been learning as well. So everyone's been learning since the product got released, but that's just a little bit about that.
Um, Avinash asked a question. It's a good question. They asked, while doing a follow-up, the AI agent asks the customer for a meeting in a few days, and the customer says a specific time slot. So in this scenario, can the AI agent share the calendar by itself, or would the sales rep have to manually share the invite? And will share the meeting link to the customer, ask them to book the slot? Yes, it'll share the calendar link. So that way, once again, it'll share the Salesforce inbox link, which we've shown in the example here, and the open time slots for that sales rep will be available. So again, that's an example of the agent intelligently answering that. Hopefully that answered your question, Avinash.
Yeah.
Okay. And Nick, is a conversation multi-channel or priced per channel, i.e. per email and SMS? So it is my understanding that everything is within a 24-hour period. So that's the same agent going out and having that conversation via text and email. But we'll talk more about that, Nick, the other Nick.
Yeah, one more thing to add. Yes, you have some standard features in Salesforce and Agentforce, right? But when we talk about add-on channels like voice, like text, they do have their own cost, whether it's coming from Salesforce's product suite or third parties like 360 SMS, or some CTI integration, so call center phone type integration. They do have their own cost. So I just kind of separate that. And depending on each channel that say works for your company, you obviously don't have to get text, you don't have to get voice if you don't really need it. So highly customizable based on, a strategy that works for you guys based on your business.
Okay. Really good questions here. Stuff that we didn't even think about. We encourage more questions here on this one. And you can keep asking questions about AgentForce, but Albert, why don't we show the next tool, which is lead scoring. So I'll go ahead and just share my screen here. And again, feel free to keep asking questions there. We'll continue to answer them as they come in. So let me share my screen. So I'm gonna give a little context what we're gonna show next. So we work with, again, as you can tell, a lot of salespeople. And so we were actually interviewing some of our clients in terms of like, what are they? We have some wealth advisor clients, and we asked them, they're very busy, like their calendars are booked, and they only have like a certain amount of time to prospect. And so they were saying, like, at one of the wealth advisory companies that we work with, that they segment all their leads into priority 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, to answer, this goes back to the next question of when to use automation versus AI. What we've trained this thing to do with lead scoring, which is a feature of having Einstein, but we've trained it to be customized. And so it wouldn't miss, as you can see here, critical signals, and lost opportunities, and so it wouldn't overlook things. So let's go ahead and jump over to. So this particular agent we're going to show you is going to take in all of these different factors. So all at once, instantaneously, it's going to look at all of the corpus of information. What that means is it's going to look at financial life cycle stages, behavior patterns, generational wealth opportunities, market trends, all this stuff, and instantly say who's the right person to call, and what should I offer them, and then schedule a meeting, right? So that's something that, as you can imagine, the way this is done, oops, manually now by humans, was taking 5 minutes per lead at least, if not longer. So let's just jump into the example we have here. And sorry, just be a moment. Where is my screen here? Sorry, guys. Okay. Albert, you could let me know if you can see this.
Yep.
Okay, so in this example, here are the priority 4 leads for the sales team. And you're a particular, salesperson, and you need to make a call immediately to find out, or excuse me, you have a small window of time to make phone calls on who to call next, and you want to know the best person to call based on all the criteria. Well, you would have to use a ton of reports. Let's go ahead and ask. Let's go ahead and ask Einstein. And I've written down the questions here, so it's faster. So let's just say that interest rates just dropped. Show me the 3 highest scoring leads that want to preserve their wealth. So maybe a little slow because of just internet connection, but this will take in all those different 7 factors, and there you go. So it's given me the top scores, and so those were everything that we trained it on. And now let's take it a step further and ask it, give me investment ideas for, we'll take Benjamin Yen. He has got a 40 score. He's in wealth preservation mode. So we create those by different scores, right? So some of them want to do different things. And again, this works for any industry or sector. We're just focusing on wealth advisory, but we can configure this for, any other industry. And so here's his title. And so we want to get investment ideas for Ben based on his risk profile, and draft an email and ask him to meet on Tuesday to discuss rebalancing his portfolio. So we've saved the step of looking through tons of reports. We're going to get, what should I offer this person when I get in touch with them? Based on what our company recommends to do. Is it stocks? Is it bonds? Are there specific things? Once in a while that happens. This is a demo environment, so once it's actual production, it won't happen. Okay, well, it just worked a minute ago. Uh, let me try that again. Sorry, guys. So let's just try that one more time. And again, this is a sandbox environment. Oh, well, I don't think it's gonna want to work this time. But
Yeah, we've been making a lot of changes, so that actually might be my fault. So
all right, well, that one's not working right now. Um, anyways, we can move on to Q&A. Let me try to refresh my screen. I could do it. We have been doing a lot of testing in the background. But that's it for the demos that we want to show for today. We'll open it back up to any other questions that folks had. And looks like there are another question. Well, let's give this one more shot before we give up on it. Okay, so we want investment ideas for Ben. Oops, the Ben didn't show up here, but
yeah, it's probably our training that was part of the problem. So
well, it did work this time. So
oh,
Ben Yan's interest in wealth preservation. Here are three investment ideas. High quality, and so again, this is based on his risk profile. So high quality government bonds, blue chip dividend paying stocks, money market funds, or high yield savings accounts. Now, this can get far more granular. So in this example, we've uploaded Morgan Stanley's financial outlook for 2025. But you can go off the deep end with this, right? In terms of whatever types of offerings your company may have or historical records that you guys may use and train this to say the right things. Again, as you can imagine, this is really good for sales teams where you may have a junior person who's who's on the team and doesn't need to go and ask someone else or bring in a senior person. They have the answers right here, the right person to contact, the right information. And as you can see, it's also drafted in email. So, Mr. Yen, I hope this message finds you well, reaching out. And we said next Tuesday, right? So, given your focus on wealth preservation, I believe it's an opportune time to review and adjust your investment strategy to ensure it aligns with your financial goals. Would you be able to meet on Tuesday afternoon to go over a portfolio and explore potential adjustments? Let me know a time that works for you. I did not put anything manual in this or any type of flows. This is the agent intelligently thinking of what to say next. So this is a great example of AI working to look at the entire profile of this customer and giving the right answer, and now we just send it off. So taking out all the tedious work from the salesperson. So that's it in terms of the demos. We'll let's see. I think that's it in terms of the questions as well. So if there are no other questions, I think we'll be able to give everyone a few minutes back. I'll wait, a few more seconds here if there are any more questions that come up. If anything else you wanted to add to, Albert?
yeah, the one thing that I wanted to kind of highlight on is, you know, when writing, some articles that I posted on LinkedIn, you know, I pretty much said that AgentForce was more than just a chatbot, right? So the example you were showing where you were typing in questions, right? So that's more of a chatbot style, but AgentForce offers more because you have the SDR setup, right? Where it's autonomous, and really the autonomous aspect is you're training it to do a certain job, and that it'll actually take action, right? And so if the end goal is to deliver a qualified lead, it's doing everything in its power based on the training to get to that end goal. So I just wanted to highlight, yes, you were putting in questions into the chatbot, but the SDR autonomous side of it can do things like that automatically, and it can execute tasks as well, right? But we really want it to be a salesperson's best friend, right? That's the way we view it. So I think, if you simplify it that way,
Yep.
it's a really great tool to have, and I think it can make a lot of your lives easier because you don't have to depend on, how many hours you're awake or how much data you can take into your brain. So yeah, it's definitely a tool that's scalable, and we're pretty passionate about really offering this to our clients as far as implementations and even making suggestions on if it's a good fit for you.
Yeah, I should also mention we have started to implement a lot of this with our current clients. So that's how we have the experience doing it, especially the lead scoring. That was the thing that's been a big hit. Avinash asked the question, can the AI agent also capture data from any other knowledge base or website as well, or is it only limited to Salesforce data only? So from my understanding, that is where you would want to bring stuff in through Data Cloud, because we're not going to go out and search on the web. But Albert, let me know if you know of another way to do that.
Yeah, so that's actually a really great question. And technically, with all the ChatGPT type features, and I'm not saying that all of it fits into, this Agentforce bucket. There's a couple different strategies, right? So one strategy, and I'm actually talking to a client today, we're meeting with them like at 11 or so today, is they want to basically take articles that they wrote on their site and essentially bring it into Salesforce or just have it do something with that when it comes to a service agent model, right? And so this is a perfect example where you set up some automation, right? We can go and basically scrub, say a website that you own. Hopefully it's your own website. And we can ingest, anything that is posted on there, and we can go and put it into, say, knowledge articles internally, or it can go and execute, whether it's Apex or a flow, whether it's daily, hourly, whatever it may be. And so that goes back to the whole intelligence, where it's constantly learning and collecting data, right, and storing it. So with Data Cloud, you have external sources, but that's typically sources that, like, let's say you have some sort of integration, third-party database, stuff like that. But then the other side is to write some automation that will go out to, say, a certain URL and try to scan and collect a certain amount of data. It is a little bit more advanced feature. It's not that Agentforce can't do it. It's just sort of how to capture that data and to bring it in. But that's actually pretty exciting for me, as doing a lot of development in my past, is to be able to write those automation and have it work with Agentforce. So that example where you use Agentforce and automation together is a perfect example.
All right.
Don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's
definitely.
100% possible.
Okay, we're gonna have more of these, and we're gonna go more into depth as we start to build out more use cases for Agentforce to implement this with other accounts. And so stay tuned for that. Feel free to reach out to us, either myself or Albert, if you want to continue the discussion. A lot of really good questions here, and obviously a lot of folks are interested in getting ahead. We strongly believe the companies that do implement tools like this are going to unlock a lot of value, not only in talking to leads, but again, there are other goals we can set this out to do that just remove the tedious work from your workforce, and really unleashes agents grounded in your data so that it's not hallucinating and trained properly, versus, you don't want to trust some third party with your own data. So it's safe, obviously within the Einstein trust layer, and our team can help you get there. So let Albert or myself know, and we'll have to continue the discussion with you all.
Yeah.
That's
Also, just wanted to mention as a last thing, if you guys see within your business certain challenges, certain things that maybe become pain points where you feel like it could be better, we would love the chance to kind of speak with you and kind of review that, and come up with some ideas, right? So we're consultants, and we try to kind of collaborate with you because we understand the tools that we implement and configure. So that's something I wanted to mention to everyone here, is we're here to really help our clients kind of expand functionality and to come up with better ways to do things. But I think for the most part, a lot of people are just learning at the same time when it comes to some of the AI use cases within your Salesforce. Okay.
All right, everybody. Thanks for your time. That's it from Albert and I. And we'll give you guys a couple minutes back. Just three. So, all right.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.